Hi Cancer, welcome to your July 2018 love reading. It's Raina here. This is a completely new July video because I did put one out earlier and I did get a couple of people who said they couldn't hear past the 2-minute mark. It was working for some people, not for others. I've heard of something similar happening where the audio it wasn't working, but I've never been able to trace the culprit, and I can't find the original recording, or I would have just re-uploaded it. So hopefully this will be completely free and clear, and if you heard the first reading, then you get a bonus reading. I don't remember the readings after I do them, so I could not possibly reconstruct the cards, not by a long shot, so I just have to do it over again. This will be a shorter one than my first one because the first one I did was actually, I think, 24 minutes at least. So if I find that memory card, then I will upload that one as well, because I know that some people wanted to hear what it said, and it was a nice reading, but you know, these things happen, I guess. I've been getting this card a lot lately. I'm doing a different spread. Now, somebody could ask, let me just, if I get like a totally different spread, how can it possibly be accurate or apply to them? In the first place, I never tell people to take these things seriously in terms of like literal or anything like that. I think that the best way to look at any kind of reading like this is spiritual entertainment. And if something seems to be connected to what you're dealing with, that's cool. Maybe there's some kind of a message there for you somehow, and just leave it at that. You know, we're always trying to have things be exactly the way we want them, and in this case I'm always a little bit concerned when I do like 2 readings for one sign that it's going to be totally different, and then it's like, what? But it's okay, it doesn't have to be the same. And there maybe some people won't resonate with it. Maybe some people will resonate with it and they didn't with the first one. So anyway, for July, the focus is on the issue of reuniting with somebody. Because I've been getting this card over and over again, it dawned on me that we are having a Mercury retrograde in July. I didn't even pay attention to that until I was watching another astrologer, and I was like, oh wow, you know, sometimes I'm so focused on other transits that I forget about Mercury retrograde. And of course we have a Mars retrograde coming up in June, if you're listening in June. And that's a big deal because that's a lot less often than a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades at least 4 times a year, so it's every few months that Mercury's retrograding, and Mars only does so once every 2 years, so quite a difference. And when Mercury retrogrades, you may hear from somebody from your past. And it can just be somebody you haven't heard from for a while. It doesn't have to be from 10 years ago. But this goes along with that. Reuniting with somebody. And this would be in a romantic sense. But also committing to someone. And likewise, this can be a card of reconciling with someone. So when I say reunite with someone, I'm speaking of someone you haven't seen in a long time. But reconciling, it could be somebody you broke up with a month ago. And this is also a card of forgiveness. But commitment can't be, ignored, because I think that is a big one. And this is a theme that a lot of people seem to be going through, where, I mean, just based on comments that I read, where they married somebody else, but they married someone, but they loved somebody else. And maybe they married somebody on the rebound because the person that they really wanted to be with, for some reason, they couldn't be with. So I don't know if there's some kind of grand design about why people are maybe experiencing this on a massive level. I used to always get the 6 of Cups when I first started posting tarot readings on here a few years ago. And I couldn't understand why I kept getting that. That's Cancer's card, but it's also a soulmate card. And I was like, wow. Are people just finding their soulmates or something? And then I was reading about twin flames, and it seems that it is part of some kind of ascension deal, where the people who are meant to have twin flames are coming back and, are experiencing the reuniting with them or something. Can you tell I'm not really up on my twin flame stuff? So anyway, whatever that means to you, it's really about honoring love, either deciding to trust somebody enough to commit to them for the rest of your life, or forgiving somebody. That's a card of forgiveness. So it could be making a choice, I guess. Whenever there's a 2, it could be making a choice, maybe choosing between 2 people, or choosing whether or not to commit to somebody. But that is kind of like, commitment. But perhaps it's not a done deal. Maybe the jury is out whether or not you really want to commit. And it could be a blast from the past. So if we kind of trace back the history of this situation, of how this came to be, we get the 9 of Swords in reverse. I've been getting a lot, several reversed cards recently, and that's quite unusual because I've tried to avoid upside down cards in my deck. So it's always interesting when I get that nowadays. So the 9 of Swords in reverse is actually a good thing. It can be. It can be like release from anxiety, and it may be something connected to a relationship that you have wanted to be in. Maybe you were broken up with somebody and it really didn't feel right. Whether you did it kind of in a very rash moment, or the other person did, it doesn't matter so much, but the aftermath felt wrong, that either one of you had made the wrong decision, and there's a sense of relief now that you're back with this person. Maybe you felt like this is the person you needed to be with, but there was some misunderstanding or just disagreement that pulled you apart. It can be, I guess for some people, you may have been waiting for somebody to commit to you, and you were kind of on pins and needles. If they had another partner and you were like, what if they stay with that person, you know, that kind of thing, or just simply commit in general. And you knew that you were in it all the way, but the other person kind of was hanging back. And now you feel a sense of relief because of that, that kind of, you know, being in suspense. And it's funny because I got that Hangman card, which is kind of like just hanging out and waiting for something to happen. The spiritual lesson to work on right now is represented by the Seven of Swords. This is a card of kind of independence, and there's different meanings, you know. One meaning can be deception by somebody. And I suppose if we look at this Nine of Swords, you may have left an air sign person, come to think of it. Did you leave a Libra person? I think I might have gotten a negative card about Libra in your first reading. So that would be either Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini. And if that was the case, if it was an air sign person, this person may have been dishonest with you. They may have cheated on you. So for the spiritual lesson to work on is, if you're involved in a new relationship with someone, to really have open lines of communication. The Seven of Swords is a sneaky card. Somebody who is very deceptive and not straightforward. But in order for this person to be able to do this, that means that his or her partner is not challenging them and kind of forcing them to be honest. So in other words, sometimes people turn a blind eye because they don't want to make waves, or they simply believe things that they shouldn't believe. I'm not talking about being paranoid or anything like that. I'm talking about if you feel like that you were deceived in another relationship, you have to ask yourself if you were really honest about it, or there were times when you had suspicions and you chose not to deal with them, to bury your head in the sand. With the Nine of Swords in reverse, it's like the nightmare is now over and you are with the person that you're meant to be. Perhaps this was a rebound person, and that might be another thing, that you did not, perhaps you were with somebody that you didn't really vet very well, that you didn't really get to know very well. And so you ended up with somebody that was not trustworthy. Also, the Seven of Swords is about going your own way. So this is a little bit contradictory, isn't it, to the focal point of the Two of Cups. However, the Two of Cups can simply be what's on your mind in July. Maybe there's somebody that you want to reunite with. It doesn't mean that you're there yet. So what this means spiritually with the Seven of Swords is that you have to cultivate a sense of independence, perhaps. And whenever you see swords, there can always be this emotional detachment. Obviously, you're a water sign, Cancer, and being emotionally detached is not really natural for you, given your element. But sometimes it's necessary, especially when you haven't formed a relationship yet. I could see a Cancer person falling fast and hard for someone. And, you know, they always say Cancer is very clingy. You have those claws. You get your claws into someone and you don't want to let go. And even if you really are sincere about your feelings, you know, being too intense about it early on can actually create a scenario where the other person, you know, pulls back. So the more independence you can cultivate, especially if you are longing for a union with someone, the better off I think you're going to be. And how you can, you know, the practical steps you can take to get to where you want to be romantically: the Hermit, looking within, finding your inner wisdom. So to me, it goes along with the Seven of Swords. Actually, the number 7 is a number of contemplation and meditation. But the number 9 is the number of the light worker. So both of those numbers are spiritual numbers. And it's possible that you need to be more what's that word? I was going to say reflective, but there's another word that's kind of like well, basically contemplative. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Meditative. I was getting distracted because I was thinking of that first reading I did for you, and I think I got the Magician card. I'm almost positive because I think I used that as a thumbnail. And I can totally see how this kind of jibes with that, because with the Seven of Swords, with that independence, it's kind of what the Magician is about as well, and that sense of empowerment. What is the possible pitfall or obstacle that stands in your way of getting what you want romantically? The Six of Swords is a card of, you know, trying to go to more harmonious, you know, crossing the shore to more harmony, you know, getting away from some kind of conflict. And again, there's another sword. Again, you know, so one thing would be going back to someone, possibly that air sign. If it's an air sign, maybe they don't have a sun in the air sign, but they have that kind of detached mentality. And that might be the dynamic that sucks you in, because they hold back, they don't give their whole being to you. And that is like almost like a challenge for you, where you want to win them over. And you know, them depriving you of affection or whatever just kind of makes you more wanting to get them to tell you that they love you, or whatever, you know, the thing is that's proof for you. And I was even, you know, the sign Scorpio popped into my head, even though Scorpio is a water sign, because I always think of Scorpios withholding. Sometimes can be withholding their true feelings, but maybe it's a Scorpio with a moon in Gemini or something, who knows. And with the Six of Swords, being about, you know, choosing peace. It can be a situation where you're afraid to let go of the past, even though you know that a relationship is toast. You may feel like you don't want to move on for some reason. The Six of Swords, I think, at the end of the day is about moving on And I always focus on that part about choosing peace, because it means that you are invested in your happiness. It's so easy to say, to tell people, complain about what the partner is doing. Oh, he's doing this. You won't believe what he did. And sometimes people will get tired of hearing complaints about somebody's partner, and they'll say, well, why don't you just leave? And and the person sometimes gets offended because they know that they should leave, but for some reason they can't. And if that's you, Cancer, then you have to ask yourself why. What is keeping you there? What fear? You know, that Nine of Swords in the upright position. But I feel like you are getting past that. There may be somebody represented by the Two of Cups that is allowing you to let go of an old relationship. What's coming in is represented by the Hangman. This can indicate a period of waiting. Again, you may be waiting on somebody else to make a decision about whether or not to be with you. Or you simply may have reached out to someone and haven't heard back from them. I'm talking about an old flame. Maybe they've reached out to you, but there's like this reason, whatever that reason is, why the two of you can't get together at this time. Maybe you're just single right now, and you're just like giving it to God and saying, you know, when it's time, I know that God will bring to me the person that I'm destined to be with. And you're kind of surrendering to this single status. It's possible, too, that you're still in a relationship that makes you unhappy. And you may be waiting for a certain milestone. Maybe you have children who are juniors in high school, and you say to yourself, I'm just going to stay one more year. And then when they go to college, then I'm going to get a divorce. You know, people have different plans for their life, and that's their choice, right? So basically, I see that there's a lot of, I think there's hope for you, feeling that there's somebody that is right for you, that you have in mind. And this may be somebody from your past specifically. But that being said, there may be things that still need to get resolved before you can really have this one-on-one relationship. The outcome is the Ten of Pentacles. This is actually a really good family card and a solid card for a relationship that is one for the ages, where whenever you get a Pentacles card related to relationships, there's a solidity to it. It's not like an affair, you know, maybe that would be getting a Wands card. Or it's not just some kind of emotional thing that in some cases may be a romantic fantasy, like a cups. Sometimes, you know, I don't poo-poo, you know, getting a cups as a final card. That can be a beautiful soul connection. But, you know, if it's an air sign situation, it could be like a friendship, a very lively relationship, but maybe, who knows how long-lasting it would be. The number 10 is the number of the dynasty or the family number, you know, it's the nth degree. So it's like a card, it's like the inheritance card. So it's talking about generational wealth, generations, period. And so that suggests to me that you might be with somebody who is very, is a good is a good bet. Now, could this person be a Capricorn? I always associate this card with Capricorn because Capricorn is an earth sign, Pentacles are earth, and the 10th house, they rule the 10th house, and there's a 10 right here. So Capricorn is your opposite sign. I did get something along those lines in the last reading. I can't remember exactly what. But we do have at the end of June a full moon in Capricorn in your opposite sign. And there is a lot going on with Cancer in the last half of 2018. You have your solar eclipse on July 12th, and then you have the North Node going into your sign in, I think, November. So just know that certain things may come into your reality in the next 6 months that may come out of left field, may come out of nowhere, but they are all part of the plan. And it's a good thing. You know, anything that comes from your North Node, having the North Node transiting your sign, means that you may be, for the next 18 months, having these fated experiences that really change the trajectory of your life, you know, where you were going. Maybe you're going to be going in a different direction. And that could include a partner. You could meet the love of your life. Or if there was somebody in your past, like this reading seems to suggest, you might reunite with this person. It certainly has happened before, so don't ever give up hope if that's something that you've been wanting. Okay, Cancer, well, I hope that this audio is on point this time, and that you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a private reading, the link to my website is below, ReinaMoonAstrology.com. God bless. Bye.